to share their valuable insights for kindling the spirit of research and development in transportation. Today, we have with us Dr. Sowjanya Dhulipala, Assistant Professor, School of Infrastructure, Indian Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar, for sharing her valuable insights on the topic, the future of rail freight in India. Acceptance dedication. Now, I request Sri Anish Kini B, Senior Scientist, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you. KSCSTE-NATPAC has launched a technical discussion series titled TransPedia Research Talk Series, which is envisioned to promote research for shared benefits by disseminating knowledge on diverse topics from cutting-edge technologies to sustainable solutions. Desirably, this also brings out a platform for young researchers across the globe to connect and interact to better shape the future of research and development in transportation. The inaugural talk of the series was held on 24th August 2023 on an online platform where more than 200 participants attended from eminent institutions, departments, etc. The inaugural address was delivered by Professor Dr. Tom V. Matthew, Chairman Research Council KCST-NATPAC and Professor at IIT Bombay. Over the past, 30 sessions have been successfully conducted, covering a wide array of topics in transportation engineering. Today, the 31st talk in the series will be delivered by Dr. Sowjanya Dhulipala, Assistant Professor in the School of Infrastructure at the Indian Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar. With great pleasure and enthusiasm, I extend a warm welcome to our distinguished speaker who has graciously accepted our invitation to share insights and knowledge on the topic of the future of rail freight in India, analyzing stakeholder acceptance of dedicated freight corridors. After the presentation, we'll have a question and answer session where you can post your questions and engage in a meaningful dialogue with the speaker. Feel free to participate actively. Once again, thank you for being here today, and let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Sowjanya Dhulipala as we eagerly await the insights she is about to share. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the welcome note. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Praveen P.S., Junior Scientist, to introduce the speaker to the audience.
Thank you, Ashwini. Good morning, everyone. Today we have Dr. Sowjanya Dhulipala, Assistant Professor in the School of Infrastructure at the Indian Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar. Dr. Dhulipala earned her PhD from IIT Bombay in 2022 and holds an MTech in Transportation Engineering and Planning from SPNIT Surat. Her doctoral research focused on freight generation and mode choice for regional freight demand in India. Prior to joining IIT Bhubaneswar, she gained extensive international and national research experience through several postdoctoral fellowships at the University of Memphis, USA, IIT Delhi, and IIT Bombay. Her current research focuses on urban last mile freight movements, e-commerce deliveries, and seaport freight generation modeling and performance assessment. With this note, I welcome Dr. Sowjanya Dhulipala to this talk series. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the introduction. Now I invite our distinguished speaker to deliver the talk. Over to you, ma'am.
Actually, she just informed that she will be joining in 1-2 minutes. There are some technical glitches over there, so she will be joining in a few minutes.
Okay, we'll wait.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay.
Yeah, it's okay, ma'am. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Yes. So today I am going to talk on the topic. Let me share my slide first. So is it being shared? Can you see my presentation?
Yeah, it's shared. Please make it in full screen mode. Yeah.
Okay. So today our topic is the future
Excuse
of
me, ma'am.
rail freight in India.
Excuse me, ma'am. Now it just got unshared. Can you just share it again?
Oh, okay. Is the presentation visible?
Yeah, it's now visible. Please make it in full screen mode.
Okay. So is it visible in full screen mode?
Yeah, now it's visible. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So today we will be discussing on the topic the future of rail freight in India, analyzing stakeholder acceptance of dedicated freight corridors. So in this talk, we'll be looking at what is the status of Indian railways currently and what is the need for dedicated freight corridors and how several stakeholders involved in freight transport are accepting or taking the dedicated freight corridors. So the contents of the seminar are introduction about the dedicated freight corridors we'll be discussing, and shippers and freight forwarders survey, study variables that are conducted in the present study, modeling and analysis, results and discussion, and policy implications. So growing attention to the sustainable development of regions and nations has brought the focus to incorporating sustainability concepts into logistics and freight transport activity. So generally, freight transport plays a key role in the economic development since it drives the product flows around the world. However, if we see globally, freight transport has many adverse effects, such as increased cost of goods, like high logistic costs, traffic accidents are there, and then air and water pollution, and then global climate changes are also happening. If we look at greenhouse gas emissions, freight transported by road, rail, air, and sea, this contributes to nearly 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and it makes up to 11% if warehouses and ports are also included. So in generally, we have road transport is the most widely used mode for moving freight globally, and over the last two decades, from 2000 to 2020, 80% of the global net increase in diesel consumption has been from the road freight. And road freight has higher negative impacts associated, since it is often argued that there is need for policies and technologies to increase competitiveness among different modes of transport so that we can reduce the dependency on the road transport for moving freight. So if we look at freight movements in India, so freight transported by road and rail included total from in 1980 it was 257 billion ton kilometers, and it has significantly increased. In 2017 we have transported 3090 billion ton kilometers. So this particular huge significant increase of freight transport has led to suboptimal mode mix. Here we can see in this picture, so the share of road and rail over the years. In 1950s, so here we can see the green line, the green curve shows the share of rail transport and blue curve shows the share of road transport. In 1950s, it has 86% freight is transported by rail, whereas nearly some 14 to 15% is transported by road. So over the years, the share of rail has decreased and share of road has increased. And now here in 2019, so it has it has reached up to some 66% is transported by road, whereas nearly 33% to 35% is only transported by rail. So this leads to, we are calling the suboptimal mode mix, which is unsustainable. Some of the possible reasons for this kind of shift could be poor quality of service offered by the railways, lack of last mile connectivity by the railways. So road has last mile connectivity, like if we look at the goods transport, the goods are transported from rural areas. So suppose if we are taking agricultural goods, so where the agricultural products are actually from the farms, so their rail is not accessible, so only accessible mode of transport is road. So thus the rail transport lacks this last mile connectivity. Due to that, road transport is dominating. And then limited capacity of the railways, investments in road sector. So over the years, if we see, there are a lot of huge investments in the road sector. One example is the national NHDP, that is National Highway Development Program. So in this program, a lot of huge investments were done on to develop and enhance the capacity of the national highways across the country. One major project among it is the development of Golden Quadrilateral. So in that way, huge investments are made in the road transport system. However, the railways lack such immediate and recurring investments. Thus, the rail transport has retained backwards. And also the system's inability to grow in proportion to increasing traffic requirements. So we have seen there is significant growth of freight movements. So, but rail transport rail transport did not grow accordingly with the increasing traffic movements. So if we look at the rail transport status in India, so we have one of the world's largest rail networks. So it is nearly 67,956 kilometers. So we stand in the third stage, like in terms of huge rail network. And the railways also serves as infrastructure lifeline in the country. So this is the primary mode of transport for both transporting passengers as well as freight. And if we look at the investment history, so there are so many outlays on railways. So on the railways also, there are multiple investments made to enhance the capacity and improve the railways. However, it is comparatively less compared to road transport. And rail transport is sustainable. Globally, it is well proven to be sustainable. It is energy efficient and eco-friendly compared to the road transport. So now the topic we are talking about the dedicated freight corridors. So why do we need dedicated freight corridors? So there are the need for the dedicated freight corridors has come up from several reasons. So some of the reasons we already discussed, like 8 to 11% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. So freight transport contributing in the major portion of the global GHG emissions. And rail freight in India, so that is declining rail share. In 1950s, we have nearly 85%. In 1991, it is 62%. And 2019, it came up to 33%. And then loss of rails. So poor service quality, capacity constraints, and we have resource constraints. And Indian Railways have a skewed tariff policy. So that means like for freight, the charges are less, whereas it gives the importance and priority to the passenger transport. Suppose a passenger train is scheduled, so the freight or goods train is set sideways and the priority is given to the passenger train. So in this way, a lot of delays and inefficiencies arise in the system. And then lack of last mile connectivity. and then we also need for sustainable freight alternatives. And then because of all these inefficiencies in the system, there are huge increase in the logistic costs. So currently in India, we have 13 to 14% of the GDP we are investing in the logistics, which is higher than the global benchmarks. So globally, in the many advanced economies, they are only spending 8 to 10% of the GDP in the logistics. However, we are spending nearly 14%. So if we can see the dedicated freight corridor, so this is the India's revolutionary strategy to reclaim the lost railways. So we want to bring up the declining share of rails to move towards the high speed and high capacity freight logistics. So here we can see there is a massive shift from rail to road over the years, and then there are efficiency bottlenecks, long waiting times for the freight transport, and lower speeds. Currently in the freight train, if we see the average speed, it is 22.22 kilometer per hour. So like we want to increase the average speed of the freight train, okay, which the dedicated freight corridors can provide. So the average speed of dedicated freight corridor is estimated to be 70 kilometer per hour. So if we can look at the maximum speed of current freight train in India, so that is up to 80 kilometer per hour, whereas for the dedicated freight corridor, so it is the maximum speed is up to 100 kilometer per hour. So if we can look at the maximum train load, so it is 5,000 tons. Currently Indian Railways freight train is carrying, and DFC will carry 13,000 tons. So and the length of the train, so the current freight train length is 700 meters, whereas DFC train length will be 1500 meters. So that is double. And DFC would also carry double stacked containers. So currently we have only single stacked containers, whereas we in DFC it is proposed to have the double stack containers. So with all these things, like and the concept of DFC is to connect the industrial heartlands in the northern India with the coasts in the eastern and western area. So that is, if we can see nearby the area of Delhi and UP, we have a lot of manufacturing companies. So we have a lot of card manufacturing companies and a lot of logistic facilities, lot of warehouses, and a lot of manufacturing units are there. So but when these products are to be shipped, they have to reach the ports which are located on the eastern and western coasts of the country. So DFCs mainly aim to connect these heartlands of the northern India to the east coast and west coast. So we have Western DFC and Eastern DFC. Western DFC connects Dadri in Uttar Pradesh to the JNPT port, which is located in Mumbai, spanning 1500 kilometers. And the Eastern DFC, it connects Ludhiana in Punjab and Dankuni in West Bengal, spanning 1873 kilometers. So majorly the aim is to connect the industrial heartlands with the major seaports. So with the estimated 40% lower operational costs and increased efficiency of on-time performance. So these are all the aims of the dedicated freight corridor. So here we can see, so this is the Western freight corridor, and we have Eastern freight corridor from Ludhiana to Dankuni in West Bengal, and here we can see Dadri to JNPT, we have Western DFC. And new DFCs are also proposed in the southern part of the India as well, but they are in the proposal stage. So DFCs are first proposed by Government of India in 2005. So these are the freight only rail corridors. Currently in Indian Railways, so what is going on is passenger trains and freight trains, both are sharing the same track. So here the concept of DFC is the dedicated track for the freight trains, so that there won't be any delay in the movement of freight. So Western DFC is from Mumbai to Dadri, and Eastern DFC connecting Ludhiana and Dankuni. These are the key features we have seen: the double stack containers, higher speeds, whereas 100 kmph and longer trains compared to current freight trains, higher load capacity, nearly 13,000 tons. The main objective is to decongest the saturated road network and encourage the shifting of freight transport to more efficient and sustainable rail transport. So for this, we have conducted a study. So to know the perceptions of the stakeholders. So the stakeholders means who are involved in the movement of freight. So we have shippers, we have freight forwarders, and we have receivers and senders. So we should know the perceptions of these people, like decision makers and stakeholders involved in the movement of freight across the country. So whether they are willing to shift to DFC, if suppose DFC becomes operational, are they willing to shift from their current mode of transport to the DFC? So in this study, what we have done is we conducted a study to know the preferences of mode choice by the decision makers about various mode attributes. So we also collected the perceptions towards DFC rail for domestic freight movements in India, and we analyzed and discussed different policies that could encourage the share of a sustainable rail mode. So in the literature, while conducting this study, we understood there are limited studies that have been made with regard to DFC in developing countries. In the developing countries, not only in India, in some other countries as well, the concept of rail only corridors are being popular. So, but limited studies have been conducted on this particular rail only corridors. And then limited number of studies in the global literature examine the large scale freight transport infrastructure as an alternative to road freight transport. So in some countries, in advanced countries where there is a coast, there are some studies conducted between the choice of mode between the like sea transport, like inland water transport as well as road transport. So these studies are conducted. But however, when we are talking about major mega infrastructure, these studies are comparatively less. And then very few studies are there on the shippers' behavioral acceptance to study the mega freight transportation infrastructure projects. Therefore, there is a need to understand the mode choice drivers and willingness to shift to the DFCs. So in this study, we conducted a shipper and freight forwarder survey. So for this, a stated preference survey was conducted. So the shippers and freight forwarders were interviewed to understand their preferences. So for this, we contacted several manufacturing and logistic companies all over India. So they were contacted through professional networking platforms, and some companies, those are located in Mumbai, they were visited personally. So nearly 220 companies we contacted. However, only 31 companies responded and participated in the stated preference choice tasks. So when we collect data from freight transport and freight and logistic companies, so there are many proprietary reasons. People are generally not willing to share their data or their views. So only few people they were willing to share, and we collected data from them. So when we look at the survey respondents, so these companies are among the major players in the Indian freight transport market. Some are like FedEx, DHL supply chain, who are playing who are involved in transporting large goods, and a lot of logistic activities are being performed by these companies. And these companies also represent potential users of dedicated freight corridors. So The respondents were logistic managers and operations managers who are mainly responsible for making mode choice decisions. So this survey was carried out in 3 phases from November 2019 to December 2020. So first 2 phases of pilot survey was done. So in that 9 companies were involved, and based on the pilot survey, the survey questionnaire was revised, and final full survey was conducted in the 3rd phase, which includes nationwide. For pilot survey, the companies in Mumbai were considered, and for the full survey, the companies locating across India are considered. So these are the questionnaire sections. So section 1 contains general information about the company, like geographical presence, location of headquarters, number of employees, turnover of the company, what are the modes of transport operated by the company, what are the various commodities transported, value of the commodities, etc. And section 2 contains about the attribute questions. So perception based ranking exercise was done. The importance of various mode attributes on a scale of 10 was asked, and based on their perception and rating, the current performance of road transport and existing rail transport, Indian Railways, is also asked. And in section 3, so we presented them with stated preference scenarios with varying levels of mode attributes, and they have to make a choice. So they have to make a choice between the existing road transport and the proposed dedicated freight corridor. So we have considered, like from the pilot survey, we understood like several mode attributes are they influence the choice of mode. So like transport cost, on-time performance, transit time, security of goods in transit, tracking of the shipment, accessibility of the mode, suitability of the mode to the commodity that they are transporting, and frequency of the service, and ease of availability of mode. So these are the various mode attributes, and we observed that those are influencing the mode choice decision. So we have presented them, and then we asked them to rate them based on their importance. So then we obtained the average rating on a scale of 10. So it is observed that transport cost, on-time performance, and transit time, these are the top 3, and then security of goods and tracking of the shipment and rest of the attributes follows. So these are also in line with the literature. And then based on the average rating by the shippers, so we have found the top 3 most influencing factors. And then like when we performed the pilot survey, so in the personal interviews, we also understood shipment size and nature of the commodity. They also play an important role in choosing the mode. So whether we have a full truckload or less than container load or full container load, that also plays an important role. And also nature of the commodity, whether the commodity is a perishable or non-perishable good, that also plays an important role. So that is why while developing stated preference scenarios, we considered these 5 attributes. So top 3 from the rating, and these shipment size and nature of the commodity are also considered. So to develop the stated choice attributes and the levels, so we considered like this. So transport cost, we have considered 3 levels. So we have the current level for the road, and then we have reduced by 25%. Like for DFC, compared to current road transport, we presented 3 levels, that is current level, reduced by 25%, and reduced by 50%. And for transit time, we considered 3 levels for the DFC with respect to the current level of road transport. For the on-time performance, we have considered 2 levels. Again, the current level, whatever is the road transport is offering, and then for DFC rail, 80% and 90%. Like 80% of the time, the shipment will reach on the time, and 90% of the time it will reach on time. And size of the shipment, so we have considered 2 levels, that is full container load and less than container load. And for nature of the commodity, we have again 2 levels, that is perishable and non-perishable goods. We have in a meeting. So, and the experimental design, so we performed orthogonal design. So orthogonal design has been implemented in this study using SPSS software, and we have designed 18 scenarios. So orthogonal designs are popular approach for building stated choices designs. So the essential property of this type of design is that it treats the attributes as statistically independent variables, and it independently determines each attribute's influence on the observed choices. So here is we have an example of a scenario that is presented to the shippers and freight forwarders. So we have shipment characteristics and we have DFC rail characteristics. Suppose we have saying nature of the cargo is non-perishable, shipment size is full container load, and we have transport cost. It is reduced by 25% compared to road. Transit time is reduced by 25% compared to road, and the reliability of DFC rail is 90%. Then what is the choice that are going to make, whether it is the road transport or DFC rail? So after collecting the data, so we have, for modeling, we have considered mode attributes, cost, transit time, and on-time performance, and we also considered socio-economic attributes that are collected from the questionnaire survey, that is turnover of the company, employment, and usage of the rail over the last 5 years. So we would like to see if a company is currently using rail for any of their commodities, they may be willing to use DFC rail in future. So in that aspect, we have considered the usage of rail over the last 5 years. And possession of own vehicles for the road. Suppose a company possesses own vehicles, so then they may not be willing to go with rail, because since they have their own vehicles. So because of that reason, we also consider this variable. And then we have shipment attributes like minimum shipment size, haulage, long haul or short haul, and nature of the commodity. So here it is the here we have the information of the proportion of shippers and freight forwarders with reference to size of the employment. Here we can see so 0 to 50 employees, how many percent, 51 to 100 employees, how many percent, and mostly 65% of the companies are more than 500 employees. Those are the large scale companies. And annual turnover, here right side the pie chart shows the annual turnover. So again here 55% of the companies are more than 100 million INR turnover. So here we can see, so among the collected data, so these shipments, those choosing road transport and shipments choosing DFC rail. So we can see 70%, suppose if we are looking at the DFC rail, so 65% good, like for 65%, 64% shipments, so those are perishable goods among those who have selected the DFC rail. And 34% are less than container load, and 66% of the shipments are full container load, those who are willing to choose DFC rail. And again 92% are nearly long haul shipments, and 8% are short haul shipments. So now we can look at the freight mode choice modeling. So to model the choices that are made, so we have chosen two methods, two different type of methodologies. One is logic models and machine learning models. So choice modeling is primarily supported by random utility based discrete choice models. So mainly we have the logic family, such as multinomial, nested, and mixed logic models. And while these econometric methods are state of the art methods, recently in the literature there is also a growing interest in the machine learning methods. So we have used both the methods. So generally logic models are based on the mathematical theory, that is random utility maximization, and we require some certain assumptions to be followed in the logic models. However, in the machine learning models, we need not have any predetermined assumptions. So those are data driven and they are capable of handling large data sets. And most of them are non-parametric methods and they rely on the actual structure of the data rather than any presumed data structure. And machine learning models are also known to be flexible and usually they lead to higher predictive capabilities. So here for the binary logic model, so a random utility framework, so that this is about somewhat about the information about the methodology. So the random utility framework assumes each alternative has a perceived utility expressed by a utility function, so which comprises two components: systematic utility representing the effects of observed attributes and random residual which represents the unobserved factors. And from this we can various types of logic models can be formed. So multinomial model assumes that the random residuals are independent and identically distributed with Gumbel distribution. So if we have only two alternatives, in our case we have road transport and we have DFC rail, only two alternatives. So this MNL becomes a binary logic model. So in the machine learning models, these are broadly classified as supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. In the supervised learning, so we generate a function that maps the labeled inputs to the known outputs and is generally applied for classification and regression problems. So if we know the y variable and then we have x variables, then we can map them. And in the unsupervised learning, so we identify the patterns and understand the trends in the input data, that is unlabeled data, to train the machine and predict the output. In the reinforcement learning, so we follow a trial and error method and learn how to act for a given situation. So since the mode choice can be viewed as a classification problem, supervised learning algorithms are considered in this study. And these algorithms are developed in the RStudio using random forest and XGBoot packages. So two methods, random forest and extreme gradient boosting, are used. So random forest is the supervised learning algorithm. This is built on the decision trees and we have several decision trees and this works with a bagging principle. So decision tree is a flowchart like structure, so that predicts the result of series of feature means variable. So a bagging principle is the bootstrap aggregation, so that is the ensemble technique that chooses a random sample from the data set and it trains the data, so individual decision trees independently. So the final output is based on the majority voting from all models. So when several models are developed, so several decision trees are there, and then the final output will be what is the majority voting output of the decision. So in the extreme gradient boosting, so this is also built on decision trees, but it works on boosting ensemble technique. So the gradient boosting algorithm builds on sequential decision tree models. So and each of the subsequent model tries to reduce the error in the previous model. So the new models are built over the residuals of the previous models. So where each decision tree predicts the error of the previous decision tree and then reduces the error. So therefore the XGB is the optimized gradient boosting algorithm through parallel processing, tree pruning and regularization to avoid the overfitting. So let us see the results and discussion of the models. So we estimated the binary logic models. So here we can see the utility functions. Utility of road has the constant and then transport cost, transit time, and then reliability, that is the on-time performance and nature of the commodity. And then utility of DFC consists transport cost, transit time, reliability, and turnover and usage of the rail in the last 5 years. So here we can see the transport cost and transit time, both of them have negative coefficients, which indicate that if the cost and time are increasing, the utility of the particular mode of transport is reducing. The on-time performance, that is reliability, has the positive, sign. So which means the on-time performance is increasing, so the utility of the particular mode is increasing. So that means if the on-time performance is high, the decision maker will choose that particular mode. And we have nature of the commodity in the utility of the road. So mostly the good is perishable. They are willing to choose road. Majority of them are willing to choose road. And we have turnover and usage of the rail in the last 5 years in the DFC utility. So and have positive coefficients. So that means if the turnover of the company is high, so they are willing to choose DFC. So and also if the usage of the rail in the last 5 years it is there, so they are also willing to choose the DFC rail. So one observation is the large scale companies are willing to choose DFC compared to small scale and medium scale companies. So these are the results of the machine learning models. So here we can see the comparative variable importance. So in machine learning models, we don't get coefficients like binary logic model. So, but we can see the variable importance. So according to the developed model, which variable is more important? Here also it is observed that on-time performance is an important variable, and then usage of the rail in the last 5 years, turnover, and then transport cost and transport time of the road. So here we can see mean, decrease, accuracy and gain. These are the metrics that express how accuracy the model uses.
1 minute. You are in a meeting?
Yes.
Just 1 minute.
Let me mute. Just a minute, please. Okay. Sorry for the. Let's continue again. So are you able to see the presentation?
Yeah, we can see that, but it's not in full screen
Okay,
mode.
it's
Please
not
make
in
it-
full screen mode. Okay.
Yeah, it's now in full screen mode. Please go ahead.
Okay, so these are the metrics that expresses how much accuracy the model loses by excluding a variable. If we exclude a particular variable from here, so how much accuracy we are losing? So if we can see here. So in this way, the on-time performance of the road and these particular variables are more important. And gain, this is also a metric that interprets the relative importance of each variable. So key takeaway is that reliability, that is the on-time performance, is the dominant factor outweighing the cost and time across all methods. So here in the previous slide also in the estimates, we can see the on-time performance has the highest coefficient, which is indicating that it is an important factor. So these are the model performance evaluation. Like here among the three methods, we can see XGBoost has the higher accuracy compared to others. So, and once the models are developed, we have also performed some elasticity analysis and some policy implications. So here in the elasticity analysis, so we have determined aggregated elasticities. They are computed to analyze how changes in the mode attributes affect the probability of choosing road or DFC rail. So the cross elasticity. So here we can see there are cross elasticity and direct elasticity with respect to road and DFC rail. The cross elasticity with respect to the change in the transport cost indicates the 1% in the road transport cost. So here we can see 1% in the road transport cost would increase the probability of choosing the DFC rail by 0.68%. Here we can see the cross elasticity between the road and DFC rail. So similarly, we have observed that the direct elasticity related to transit time. So that indicates the 1% increase in the transit time by DFC rail would decrease the probability of choosing DFC rail by 0.16%. And similarly, we have also observed the elasticity with respect to on-time performance. So then we proposed 4 policy scenarios for evaluating what kind of policies can attract the shippers or freight forwarders towards DFC rail. So for that, we proposed 4 policy scenarios. One is increase in the transportation cost by road. Suppose if we increase the transport cost by road, how it is affecting the choice? Decreasing the transport cost by DFC rail, and decreasing the transit time by DFC rail, and increasing the on-time performance of DFC rail. So these are the 4 policy scenarios considered, and so we evaluated these scenarios by changing the specific attributes. So here we can see how the mode shares are varying depending on each policy. So we have a base scenario. So if we increase 5% transport cost per road, 10%, 15%, 20%, how the mode share of road and mode share of rail are changing. So as we increase the transport cost, so we can observe the mode share of road is decreasing and mode share of rail is increasing. So similarly, we perform this for all the 4 policies: decrease in the transport cost by DFC rail, decrease in transit time, and increase in on-time performance. So out of these 4 policies, so we observed that increase in the on-time performance of DFC rail has a major impact on the in attracting the mode share towards DFC rail. So these are the general policy findings among the 4 policy scenarios we evaluated. So with respect to on-time performance, increase in on-time performance has the largest impact in increasing the DFC rail share. And transit time, so decrease in the transit time by DFC rail has the lowest impact on increase in the DFC rail share. So transport cost, so increase in the cost by road has an impact in increase in the rail share. So one thing to observe is when we are talking about disincentives, so shippers are not sensitive to disincentives. Like if we are increasing the fuel costs, so shippers are not sensitive to that. So they are not very much willing to go to the rail if the transport cost of road is increased or fuel prices are increased. So they are only willing to shift to DFC if the on-time performance and reliability of the rail is high. So these things, like particularly they are looking at the mode performance. So that is why we also observed that their disincentives may not work. Only policy that could work is to work towards enhancing the like performance of the DFC rail. So these are some conclusions. Transit time, weight of the shipment are the influencing factors for choice of truck, whereas transport cost and distance between the origin destination per choice of rail. So many times, like when we are talking about long haul, that means the distance between the origin and destination also plays a role for the choice of rail. So from stated preference scenarios, we understood that for perishable goods, short haul, for perishable and short haul goods, road transport is being preferred. For long haul, DFC is being preferred. And choice between road and DFC, so cost and reliability are playing some important role. So one important thing is large scale companies are willing to shift to DFC rail. Companies whose rail usage has increased in the last 5 years showed an inclination towards DFC rail. And important finding is increasing reliability of DFC rail has the largest impact on the rail share. So increasing cost by road, that is one of the disincentives to discourage road. Decreasing cost by rail is the decreasing cost by rail is to subsidize the rail fare so that to encourage the rail usage. So those we do not have much impact. So in a nutshell, if we look at the study, so rail transport is imperative from the sustainability perspective in a vast country like India. DFCs are these are the massive projects undertaken by the government of India to encourage rail share against the dominant road transport. So in India, we have this unregulated and fragmented freight industry. So among this, with the long-term investments in road transport that have been happened in the last 3-4 decades, the shippers and freight forwarders' acceptance of DFCs is unknown, and we attempted to understand that. Policymakers need to improve the model performance in terms of reliability and flexibility by enhancing the DFC operations to a great extent to promote the shift from dominant and flexible road transport to the DFCs. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to present our work here and share with all the researchers. For more information, you can check this paper that is published in Journal of Rail Transport Planning and Management based on this work.
That was a nice presentation. Thank you, ma'am. Now the forum is open for discussion.
Dr. Sowjanya, this is Praveen from NATPAC. It was a very nice presentation. Like, I'd like to know whether how you have taken 4 different scenarios while formulating the policy, right? How was it compared? Is it based on some percentage change, or you have compared it one against the other by increasing the percentage, right?
Yes, yes.
How could we take a call finally telling that so this one has higher weightage than the other sort of policy? Or is it merely by looking at the graphs or something like by quantifying some numbers or something like that?
Yes, yes. For quantifying, actually, while conducting the survey, what we have done is, so we asked what is the major route, some origin and destination that they are serving. Suppose, for example, in the logistic company that is located in Mumbai, first we asked what is the major route that they are serving. Suppose they answered Mumbai to Delhi is the major route that they are serving. So then for that particular route only we asked. Suppose from Mumbai to Delhi, so the transportation cost is currently by road is this much. Transport time is taking this much, and your current on-time performance, you know. So for this particular, this is the base scenario now. With respect to this scenario, so now we are reducing 25% for DFC rail in the same stretch, and then so 25% we are reducing the cost. So in a way that in similar way we asked.
Okay, fine. I have one more doubt. See, this DFC is for majorly for eastern or western part, right? Where probably land land acquisition or the land for laying the dedicated track may not be an issue. Like if it is for some, if we are considering some denser states where population is very high and the cost of land may be high. For example, if we take the case of Kerala, which is a linear state, where the density of population is nearly very high when compared to the other states of India. Like these DFCs, is it possible to go up with these DFCs, which can give a positive impact in model shift?
So currently, DFC is focusing at the long haul freight, particularly the bulk and major freight. So from major cities. So if we can see now, Western Corridor is majorly focusing between Delhi and Mumbai. Eastern Corridor is focusing between again Delhi area, UP and West Bengal. So they are currently in the current stage they are focusing reaching the manufacturing units in the north to the ports. So the proposed are South India also the proposals are there. So connecting Mumbai, Bengaluru, Chennai, and then Chennai to Kolkata again. So this is the first step towards improving the rail at a larger scale. So once if we reach this successfully, then we can focus on accessibility at the lower level. So
Okay.
now the focus of DFCs is towards the mobility.
Okay, so it's planning for a larger share, a share wherein which we can move the goods at a larger rate, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Sowjanya,
Yes.
here from NATPAC. Yeah, it's a nice presentation. And I have one confusion in the policy analysis. Like after the development of choice models, you have done sensitivity analysis, like changing variables and find out the sensitivity part. After that, you have evaluated the policies that was developed in the later stage. So these policies were developed and interviewed later from the same companies, or it was a kind of uh, change in values in the developed model. So if it is so, will it be a type of sensitivity itself, or the policy implications were separately analyzed?
It is the analysis done in the policy scenario analysis is similar to sensitivity analysis, because we are changing the value of the attribute and then seeing how the final mode share is differing. So but the policies are framed based on the literature review and based on what are the different incentives currently going on in various countries. So suppose if we are increasing the transport cost by road, so that means how we can implement in practically is by increasing the fuel price, and so these are some incentives. And suppose if we are decreasing the decreasing the transit time or decrease in the transport cost by DFC, that means we have to give some subsidies from the government side so that they can come. So by seeing what are the various incentives or strategies we can implement, so based on that, these attribute changes, what we have to change is taken. But it is kind of a sensitivity analysis.
Yeah, so those are already captured in the stated preference choices, right? Those variables that was taken are the key parameters. That is, five variables were taken, and the different levels were identified based on the literature, and that was asked to the respondents. Now, if you come to the policy analysis, will that be a type of policy or will that be a sensitivity? That's what my question is. Because if we are trying to develop policies, then that should have separately interviewed based on the findings from this model, how that particular policies will be evaluated in later stage. So that's what my confusion, whether those policies are developed in later stage or it was done through, done in the same questionnaire itself.
So yes, because we are saying this policy because while collecting data about each attribute, we also asked what is the important variable among all the variables. So the shippers are also we also got the input from the shippers that reliability is the most. So if suppose while if they are choosing rail transport and so the shipment is not reaching within time, if it is taking a lot of time, so then they are not willing to go towards the rail transport. So in a way it is we are looking at these particular attributes, how they are varying and how the choice is differing, and finally at the aggregate level how the share of mode is differing based on this like varying the variable.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yeah, it's almost that is clear. The confusion was whether the separate questionnaire was developed on that for policing.
Okay.
Any separate survey was conducted for that implication analysis, or it was conducted at the same time, parallelly?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
The questions related to the policy analysis was done on the same time, or it was separately analyzed after the moderate modeling?
It is separately analyzed after the model development.
Okay. Did you conduct again the survey after this, or only in single go it was conducted?
No. Like along the survey was conducted like 2 phases, like pilot survey and the main survey. After that only model developed, and but policy analysis is done after the model development.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Srimati Ardra S. Krishna to propose the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my privilege to propose the vote of thanks for today's technical talk on the future of rail freight in India, analyzing stakeholder acceptance of dedicated freight corridors. On behalf of NATPAC, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Sowjanya Dhulipala for delivering such an insightful and engaging session. The talk shed light on India's initiatives to reduce logistics cost and improve freight efficiency through dedicated freight corridors, a major step towards separating freight and passenger traffic. Dr. Sowjanya discussed the current rail transport scenario, the need for DFCs, and India's efforts to reclaim the rails for freight movement. She also presented a study on the stakeholder perceptions and willingness to shift to DFCs along with the key findings. We sincerely appreciate the time, effort, and that went into preparing this enriching presentation. The session has broadened our understanding of key challenges, opportunities, and policy implications in shaping the future of rail freight in India. A special thanks to our director, Dr. Ashala Dar, for her guidance and encouragement in organizing this session. I would also like to express gratitude to all participants for their active engagement. Finally, sincere thanks to the entire NATPAC team for their dedicated efforts behind the scenes in organizing this session so smoothly. Once again, thank you for all making this event a success. We look forward to many more such enriching sessions in future. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.